ADHD and emotional dysregulation. Before we begin, just a quick disclaimer that this video is for educational purposes only. If you are experiencing symptoms of ADHD, it's best to see a professional for a diagnosis. Have you ever found yourself getting angry at a teeny tiny problem? You know it doesn't exactly make sense to be so angry about it, but you can't help how you feel. Or do you feel extreme anxiety over something as small as a late bus? Perhaps you regularly feel like your emotions are just too much to handle? Well, if you have ADHD, these are entirely normal symptoms. In fact, these occurrences are perfect examples of what we call emotional dysregulation. This term refers to the inability to properly regulate your emotions and emotional responses, and it's very common. One study showed that 73% of adults with ADHD experience emotional dysregulation. This number is slightly lower in children, around 24 to 50%. Unfortunately, emotional dysregulation can have a really big impact on daily life, your relationships, and your self-esteem. You may feel very self-conscious about your reactions to certain situations and worry about what your loved ones and friends think. In turn, that can lead to a spike in associated symptoms like anxiety and depression. So, why exactly does emotional dysregulation happen in many people with ADHD? The physiology. There are physical reasons for emotional dysregulation occurring. Bear with us while we get a little technical. The amygdala is the part of our brain that looks after our emotions and triggers the decisions that we make each and every day. When emotions like anger or worry flow through the amygdala, it sends an overwhelming response to the cerebral cortex. Usually, the cerebral cortex would temper this response and act as a halfway point, allowing you time to think through for a moment before outwardly displaying your emotions. However, some scientists believe that this connection between the cerebral cortex and the amygdala is not as powerful in people with ADHD, so the emotional response doesn't exactly slow down as it arrives at the cerebral cortex. And from there, well, your reactions might be more intense than you'd like. This means it can also take longer for the feelings to subside and for you to calm down. Unfortunately, in the past, as with many ADHD symptoms, emotional dysregulation hasn't been properly researched or even included as part of the criteria for ADHD diagnoses. People may have simply said, "Oh, she's hot-headed," or "he just always overreacts like that." But in fact, there's a physiological reason for the way people with ADHD and emotional dysregulation react. So, what can you do about it? The good news is that there are treatments available and techniques you can learn to help self-regulate your emotions. Medication is one option and is commonly used to treat the wide range of symptoms that come with an ADHD diagnosis. The stimulant medication that is often used to treat most ADHD symptoms isn't as helpful when it comes to aiding emotional regulation. However, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, also known as SSRIs, can be more effective in treating anger problems. Another option is therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. This treatment will involve working with a counselor or psychologist to build a mental framework, including coping mechanisms when you're feeling overwhelmed and support systems for when it all becomes a bit too much. These coping mechanisms should include identifying triggers for your emotional responses and planning exit strategies so that you can either avoid the trigger or diffuse the situation before it becomes overwhelming. Positive self-talk is also a big part of this strategy, ensuring that you maintain a calm and collective inner monologue and a positive attitude toward the person or situation that may be triggering your emotional response. For example, does this bus being 5 minutes late really have such a big impact on my day? It's very important to remember that while it's possible to learn techniques like this and practice them yourself, This self-help approach is not nearly as effective as working with a professional. Always do your best to maintain a healthy lifestyle. As with managing most of your ADHD symptoms, maintaining a healthy day-to-day lifestyle will help keep a clear mind, and therefore make it a little easier to consider how you respond to your emotions. A healthy routine includes exercising regularly, making sure you stick to a healthy, balanced diet, and avoiding alcohol and drugs as much as possible. Meditation and mindfulness are also great techniques to add to your routine, and this kind of technique can aid you in remaining calm through stressful situations. Did you find our video relatable and helpful? Click the like and subscribe button so we can keep making more. You can also visit the miniadhdcoach.com for more helpful tips about ADHD.